At that time, the zombie's teeth were only 0.01 centimeters from my throat. Looking at the other person's pupils that were green due to bacterial infection. I'm a little regretful. Why didn't I take another look before rushing out? Your hands are becoming sour and trembling. You can clearly feel that the strength of the zombies is gradually increasing. Your strength has been exhausted. You were attacked by zombies. The germ spreads from the wound and spreads freely in the body, and you become a zombie. You are dead. Li Yan died. Dungeon Crazy Research Lab failed to simulate survival. Reward Talent Danger Prediction Description: you can foresee the arrival of danger. The simulation is over. You can continue after 30 minutes of cooling down. Looking at the capitalized in the line of sight. Li Yan, who had withdrawn from the simulation, couldn't help twitching the corners of his mouth. Who is not good at learning this simulator, but it has to learn from a scumbag. Sigh. His attention was focused on the scarlet countdown in the upper left corner of his vision. Escape game: the first closed beta Dungeon Crazy Lab number 4 countdown to the start of the game, 23 hours. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The ever-shrinking number was like the scythe of death, getting closer and closer to his throat, pressing him so hard that he couldn't breathe. This is the first day of time travel. How did you encounter this kind of thing? Yes. Li Yan is a traveler. He came from an azure planet to the federal world of this model. He just figured out the rules of operation. When he woke up in the morning, this information appeared in his sight. Simply put, it is an escape game called the Main Space that opened the inner side. There are a total of 30,000 people in the internal test, and Li Yan is one of the lucky ones. And the player's task? It is to survive in the various horror copies. A clown hiding in a dark corner with a fire axe, a terrifying chainsaw killer, a biochemical disease that threatens the world. Just thinking about it makes me shudder. And as a transmigrator, the system is naturally standard. And his system is called Survival Simulator. Before entering the copy, you can use this simulator to simulate in advance, explore rewards, get talents, etc. And in his first simulation just now, after surviving for 10 minutes, he was infected by a sneak attack by a zombie hiding in the corner. It's so yin. Keep this information in your mind. Take advantage of the half-hour cooling time. Li Yan came to the kitchen and made himself a bowl of instant noodles. While sucking the noodles, he began to think about the talent he had acquired. Danger prediction? Similar to Spider-Man's spider sense? Thinking and waiting. The cooldown time will soon pass. He then started a second simulation. At 12 o'clock at night, you were taken away by an escape game. The name of the copy is Crazy Research Lab. There are 4 players in the dungeon. All you have to do is to escape from the laboratory before the monsters in the laboratory come out. Your location is the 3rd floor of the research base, and if you want to escape, you have to go to the 1st floor of the research base, open the base gate, and leave this place. Although time is very short, you know that there are a lot of zombies outside, so you must be careful. You looked around the research room and found many things that can be used as weapons. Your choice: crowbar, scalpel, stick. You picked up the crowbar, carefully probed the surroundings, and walked out from the door. At this time, the zombie hiding behind the door rushed out. You responded very quickly, and threw it to the ground with a stick. Now, the infected people have not been completely zombied, and their combat power is even weaker than that of ordinary humans. You led a few teammates out of the laboratory and into a narrow passage. Through the glass, you observed those restless experimental zombies, but unexpectedly found, a little girl was very calm, no different from ordinary people. Time is pressing. You ignored her and continued to walk towards the gate of the base. During this process, when your teammate attacked the zombie with a wooden stick, the weapon broke unexpectedly. He was infected by the attack and turned into a zombie. You intended to kill him, but was opposed by your teammates. You had a quarrel. In the end, they decided to walk towards the gate of the base, and you went to the security room. After a lot of hard work, you killed all the zombies in the security room and obtained items: helmets, body armor, M4 pistols, a few boxes of ammunition, a submachine gun. After getting fully armed, you walked out of the security room, only to find that the infected teammates had completely turned into zombies, and the tempered glass of the laboratory was shattered, and the infected zombies poured out. These zombies are the first test items. Their combat effectiveness is much stronger than that of the researchers who have just been infected, but they also have many flaws. As long as they hold their breath and do not move, they will not be noticed. Another teammate was killed, and now there is only one girl from the police academy still alive. Her performance is much better than ordinary people. After a while, you held your breath and stuck your head out. Those experimental zombies were still wandering in front of the door. Unexpectedly, the little girl also came out of the laboratory. She cried so loudly that people couldn't help it. Wanting to protect, the girl in the police academy who had been hiding couldn't help but stuck her head out, and at this time, the little girl suddenly laughed, her mouth split open, and a disgusting and twisted tentacle stretched out from it, wrapping tightly around the neck of the girl in the police academy. Your teammates have all died. You look at the way the little girl eats the corpse of her teammate, you don't dare to act rashly. Tick, tick, the sound of dripping saliva comes from behind you. Looking back, a skinny zombie, I don't know when it climbed on top of your head. You sensed the danger, escaped the fatal blow, and immediately opened fire, but your marksmanship was too bad. Not only did you not kill the zombies, but also attracted the infected people wandering outside the door. Li Yan died. Survival time 2 hours. Cause of death: bitten by zombies. Get talent: breath hold expert. Description: your breath hold time has been enhanced. Dead again. Looking at the capital letters, Li Yan's brows furrowed. With the talent of danger perception, he survived a lot longer than he expected, but in the end, he died because of his teammates and poor marksmanship. But then again, what happened to that little girl? According to the description, she is very different from ordinary experimental subjects. It feels a bit like an evolutionary version. Then again, this time, another talent was given. It can make you hold your breath longer. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Although it doesn't look very powerful, in this environment, it can be regarded as a good talent. The time has come to 9 o'clock. Li Yan turned on the timer. Take a deep breath, hold it in, and the timer starts. Tick, tick. A minute passed. Li Yan felt very good. Tick, tick. 3 minutes passed. His face flushed slightly. Tick-tock, tick-tock. 5 minutes are up. Li Yan exhaled sharply. He can hold his breath for about 5 minutes now, while a normal person can hold his breath for about 1 minute, 20 or 30 seconds. Maybe with a powerful talent in the future, I can directly challenge the world record? Take back your blind thoughts. My most important goal now is to survive this escape game. Through previous experiments, Li Yan already knew that the various aspects of his reality can affect the general content of the simulation. The repeated simulations are meaningless. Maybe you can use some things to improve your own level to achieve different effects. During this period, he can do a lot of things. The most basic is practice guns. As a traveler, this kind of thing is absolutely impossible in a previous life, but this world is extremely common. Open the map and search for the word targeting. 3 or 4 locations appeared. Li Yan chose a place closest to him and walked out of the room. Linzhou. The basement of Double Eagle's target practice. Looking at the colorful signboard, Li Yan took a deep breath and walked in. It's been a while since I came to this world, but I haven't tried anything like shooting a target with a gun. Go into the basement. Many people were wearing earmuffs at this time and started target practice with guns. Some people practiced alone, while others hired a coach. The owner of this restaurant is a young proprietress. Her father was a soldier. Under the guidance of family tradition, he is very knowledgeable and proficient in firearms and other things. Hello, I'm here to practice target shooting. Li Yan said. The girl glanced at him and tapped the tempered glass on which the firearm was loaded. Which type? If you are a beginner, a pistol is recommended. It is the cheapest and best to use. Then the pistol, by the way, I need a coach, the best. Li Yan did not hesitate. Although it is said that it takes more money to ask a coach, but, from the moment this survival game was born, money is of little significance. There should be all kinds of things with supernatural powers in it. For the first time, the number of players was only 30,000. Not to mention selling items in the game, even if it is selling the news. There will be countless people flocking to it. Therefore, there is no need to save the necessary expenses at all. The girl raised her eyebrows. I'm the coach here. But, I'm expensive, have you considered it? Li Yan nodded. If you have the real ability, you can just start. A smile appeared on the girl's cheeks. My name is Lin Xia, you can call me Instructor Linear. Li Yan nodded. Li Yan. After some conversation, Lin Xia took him directly to the best shooting room. She said, try to shoot a few shots to let me see your level and aim at the target. Although Li Yan had never fired a gun, he knew about 3 points and 1 line, and some basic gun-holding movements. 5 bangs, but only 1 bullet barely landed on the target. Lin Xia frowned. The movement is very jerky, it looks like it's the first time. Shangping Zhongzheng, 3 points and 1 line, focus your eyes, and control your breathing. She put her hand up, narrowed her eyes, exhaled, and then pulled the trigger. Boom! A bullet hit the bull's-eye with precision. The most important thing to improve your gun skills is to practice, keep practicing, to master the sensations I mentioned, remember them firmly, and form muscle memory. Instructor Lin continued, according to what I said, try shooting again, a few more times. Time flows slowly. The index finger continued to buckle, and the recoil force came from the muzzle, and the shock of the tiger's mouth was a little numb. Half an hour of uninterrupted practice plus Instructor Lin's guidance. Li Yan has changed from a novice who doesn't understand anything to a beginner. For a set of bullets, 7 or 8 can land on the target, and 1 or 2 can land on the bullseye. Compared with the superb skills of 1 shot and 1 headshot on TV, it still takes a long time to go. At this time, Instructor Lin said, the hand feels good for a while, and it may bring the illusion of accurate marksmanship, but not all the time. The hand feels very good. I suggest you take a break, and then continue to practice. During this period I don't toll. By the way, every weekend in our club, we hold self-organized target shooting competitions. You can go there and watch, and sometimes watch other people shoot and learn something. Li Yan nodded. Shooting for a long time has made him a little numb. If this continues, he feels that his marksmanship will not improve much. Taking advantage of this break, he walked out of the separate target practice room. As soon as they went out, the sound of gunshots pierced into the eardrums. During the training just now, this group of club members gathered together to shoot targets. Li Yan just got together. A girl who seemed to be in her 20s noticed him. Mian Sheng, this is your first time here. Li Yan nodded. If you are a novice, you need to practice and watch more. She smiled, feeling very familiar, and while she was talking, it was her turn to shoot the target next. Raise the skilled headset, hold up the gun, aim at the target and pull the trigger. Bang bang bang. 3 shots, all on target, 2 red hearts in the middle. The accuracy of the heart is not bad. There were also applause and cheers from the side. The girl raised her eyebrows, as if she was satisfied with her performance, and handed over the gun. Try it? I can teach you, and there's no charge. Li Yan smiled and shook his head. If you have poor accuracy, you won't come up to show your ugliness. After watching the target shooting competition for a while, He remembered a more important thing and came to the toilet. I don't know. With practice, will the simulation process change? After thinking about it, Li Yan started the simulation. In the middle of the night, you were pulled away by the escape game. The name of the dungeon game is, you skillfully picked up the crowbar, and in the stunned eyes of your teammates, you gave the infected person in the corner a headshot. Extremely skilled operation. Coupled with your lack of panic, the dominant position among players has been subtly shifted to you. With the last experience, you quickly passed through the experimental tunnel and killed the infected researchers. This time, no one was infected. You came to the security room, got rid of those security guards, and started picking up equipment. You took a pistol, a fire axe, a few boxes of ammunition. After the girls in the police academy wore the equipment, their temperament became more aggressive. The infected researcher, like a weak guinea pig, fell to the ground as soon as the gunshot rang out. Your marksmanship proficiency begins to improve. No accident happened. After cleaning up the zombies of those researchers, you came to the second floor of the research base. Here, the experimental body was released for some reason. You motioned them to hold their breath tightly, not to make a sound, and to move forward cautiously. 1 minute has passed, and some of you can't hold your breath. When the breath appeared, the experimental subjects rioted. Your choice killing the ring suffocated and absconded, waiting to rot and waiting to die. After seeing the hordes of zombies rushing towards you, you didn't hesitate, holding your breath and preparing to leave. During this period, you took the girls from the police academy out of the chaos by the way, while the other 2 teammates were in the chaos killed by zombies. Your marksmanship proficiency begins to improve. The 2 of you hid in a room, holding your breath, planning to wait for the riot to end before going to the gate of the base. At this time, the girl from the police academy suddenly tore open her sleeve, and there was a wound inside. She was infected in the chaos just now. Later, I will go out to create a movement and lead all these infected bodies away, and take advantage of this time period. Go to the first floor and open the gate of the base to escape. After saying this, she rushed out with a gun. The huge movement caused the infected to rush towards her. Your teammates are all dead, taking advantage of this period of time. With your breath-holding ability unimaginable to ordinary people, you did not make any movement and came to the gate of the base on the first floor. You try to open the door, but you get a message prompt. Bacteria leakage has been detected. The base self-destruction system has been activated. You have no right to leave. The simulation ends. Li Yan's whole soul was restless, as if he had suffered some kind of great blow. Has the self-destruct system started? No right to leave? Hey! When the spirit is on the verge of a critical value. Li Yan took a deep breath and adjusted his state back. Fine. This is just a simulation. This road will not work, and you can try other methods. Thinking. He continued to focus on the settlement panel. Li Yan died. Survival time 3 hours. Cause of death, bitten by a zombie. Reward talent pistol specialization. Description: your pistol skills are not inferior to some well-trained soldiers. Died again. Looking at the pawn, Li Yan has already finished the simulation. This time, the simulated talent seems to be quite useful. Pistol specialization talent? Isn't this a coincidence? Get out of the toilet. Li Yan planned to go back to his training room to try 2 shots. And on the way back to the room, he found out that instructor Lin had changed into a strong suit at some point and joined the team in the target shooting competition. After holding the gun, her temperament became colder, her eyes narrowed slightly. Bang bang bang! Fired 3 shots in a row. 3 bullets hit the red heart. The incomparable accuracy immediately aroused applause. Being able to be a coach, as expected, I still have 2 brushes. After the performance, she put down the headset and saw Li Yan come over. Lin Xia was stunned for a moment, then handed the pistol. How about, come and try. The eyes of the people around him just stayed on his cheeks for a moment, and attention came immediately. After watching too many dazzling maneuvers, It is very interesting to see Mensin making a fool of himself. This is the cuteness of Mensin, which can increase his self-confidence a little. Li Yan still wanted to refuse, but soon, someone in the crowd coaxed him to try. He hesitated for a while, but in the end, he still took the gun. A smile appeared on everyone's cheeks, as if they could already see the embarrassing scene where the bullet didn't even hit the target after the other party fired. Li Yan didn't make any other movements, just one hand, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he threw himself into it. This time, when the pistol was used, an indescribable change occurred. At this time, he was like a well-trained soldier. The originally very jerky beginner's movements became very professional at this time, spraying guns with both hands, 3 points and 1 line, concentrating on breathing, and directly entering the state in an instant. Bang bang bang! Pull the trigger! Bullets flew out of the muzzle. 3 shots, all of which are bullseyes. See this! The club members present were stunned for a moment and wiped their eyes. After realizing that they were not wrong, they became even more puzzled. No. Isn't this guy a rookie? How does this quasi-head compare to Instructor Lin? See this scene. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. Instructor Lin was stunned for a moment. He glanced at the extremely experienced Li Yan, and then at the red heart on the target. Ah! She was in disbelief. How many more shots will you try? Li Yan nodded, looking at the 3 intact targets in the target. Bang bang bang! 3 more shots in a row. 3 bullets accurately hit the hearts of 3 targets. This time, Instructor Lin was completely stunned. If the last time was lucky, then this is really hard power. The speed of aiming, the posture of shooting at will, the sight. After a few years, the effort won't come down at all. Even if you have an extraordinary talent, it is impossible to go to the toilet and immediately realize it. At the same time, the girl who had previously scored 3 shots and 2 hearts was stunned after seeing this situation, and her cheeks quickly rose to crimson. This. I thought the other party was Mensin, but I seemed to have pretended it before, but now I look at it. Are you pretending to be in front of a real boss? So. What the hell? Feeling that the other party's eyes were looking at him, the crimson on the girl's face became deeper and deeper, and finally, she disappeared directly into the crowd. And on the other side, looking at the girl who left because of shame, and the few targets that were hit, Li Yan was also a little surprised. This talent is better than I imagined. I was just a rookie half an hour ago, but now, it's no different from a professional. Are you still learning guns? After pondering for a while, Li Yan asked, Instructor Lin, do you still teach fighting? Lin Xia. For fighting, I suggest you go to a professional boxing gym, but if it's the use of some cold weapons, I know a thing or two. Seeing the other party shift their focus, Instructor Lin immediately followed the words. Joke. Then go on to learn guns? At this level, let alone learning, it doesn't matter if you apply for a coaching position here. When I heard Instructor Lin say that, the members of the club who were watching the excitement around couldn't help but laugh out loud. Just the operation just now. Instructor Lin really might not be able to do it. This is the first time I have seen this famous Valkyrie deflated. Hearing this, Li Yan raised his brows. Can fire axe be learned? Lin Xia pondered for a moment. Yes, it's good to learn how to learn. It can let you understand the basic common sense and skills of exertion. Li Yan nodded, then learn this. In that copy, the role of firearms is actually quite limited. Those experimental subjects are very sensitive to sound. If the sound of firearms is so loud, if they are attracted, the situation will become very bad. So, using cold weapons may be a good choice. After some deliberation, Li Yan's study changed from a pistol to a fire axe. Hey! A powerful axe fell. Perhaps because of the simulation, Compared to ordinary people, he can more quickly grasp some key points of exertion. This axe goes down. Not to mention those ordinary zombies, even the first batch of infected bodies in the laboratory can directly lie down. Looked at the time. It's almost 12 noon. Li Yan was silent for a moment. I want to go to the toilet. Instructor Lin. Come to the familiar toilet position. Li Yan exhaled, not in a hurry to simulate, but fell into thinking. My previous simulations so many times were all aimed at escaping from the gate of the base. However, when they arrived at the gate of the base, they found that the self-destruction system had been activated, and there was no way to escape. But here comes the problem. Escape game, you can't escape, isn't this obviously funny? Thinking. Li Yan recalled the previous simulation process and suddenly thought of a question. When I was in the security room earlier. Obviously, all the monsters in it have been cleaned up, but a zombie appeared out of nowhere. It should be impossible to appear out of thin air. In the security room. Could it be that there are other unknown things? After some thought, the simulation begins again. In the middle of the night, you were pulled into the escape game. When all the teammates were still panicking, you directly picked up the crowbar and shot the hidden zombie to the ground. Walking on the blood-stained ground, your breathing is very well proportioned, and there is no expression on your face. You lead your teammates to the security room, and quickly put on your equipment. At the same time, you pick up a pistol and shoot at several infected people wandering outside the door. 3 bullets hit 3 heads. Schoolgirls marvel at your fine marksmanship. This time, you did not rush to the gate of the base, but searched carefully in the security room. Finally, among a lot of documents, you found a blueprint. Obtaining items structural drawings of the research base by looking at the drawings, you have successfully discovered another way. From the ventilation duct in the security room, you can directly lead to the basement of the research base, and there is an unknown safe house. This is built to deal with emergencies. There are a lot of water and food, and it is extremely strong. After learning the information, you started searching with your teammates, and finally found a ventilation duct. You all went from the 3rd floor of the research base to the 2nd floor, and then to the 1st floor. And at this time, a dark palm slammed through the ventilation duct, killing one of the teammates. Through the slight gap, you can observe that this is also a special experimenter, just like the little girl. You immediately pulled out the pistol to shoot, but the other party's response was very fast. After killing the person, he immediately disappeared in the zombie group. You have no choice, move your body quickly and come to the basement. The surroundings are pitch black, you can only slowly forward. And at this time, a sense of crisis suddenly surged up. You immediately bent down, and a green tongue covered with mucus slammed into it, caught off guard, killed another teammate, and also entangled the police. Schoolgirl's neck. You reacted immediately, picked up the fire axe, and split your tongue with one axe. For some reason, the basement is filled with experimental subjects, and there are several more special experimental subjects like the green tongue just now. The movement of your fighting disturbed these guys. They slowly came around. You signaled to hold your breath. The police academy girl nodded, and the 2 of you moved your steps carefully, planning to bypass these guys and head to the safe house. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Seeing that the security gate is right in front of her, the girls in the police academy turned red, as if she couldn't hold it anymore. She motioned. When she started to breathe, you hurried to the security door, while she was going to attract the attention of the zombies. You pondered for a while, and when the other party was about to breathe, you kissed him directly, as if doing artificial respiration, and put air into the other party's lungs. Congratulations, successfully arrived at the safe house. Under the protection of the security gate, even if the zombies were wiped out by the poisonous gas from the base, with the materials in it, the 2 of you are enough to last until the investigators arrive. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Successful simulation survival. Simulation rating B. Systematic review. the level of barely surviving. Reward talent fire axe specialization reward talent headshot expert reward item antibody drug Looking at the large number of rewards given for their success in surviving, Li Yan was stunned for a moment. Antibody drugs? What is this? Opening it, a message appeared on it. Antibody drugs description: an antibody drug researched by extracting blood from a special infected person. After taking it, even if it is attacked by zombies, it will not be infected. One of the sources of escape copy, zombie frenzy. Note: your body will evolve, and overexpanded emotions will make the drug factor hyperactive. Note: this item has been added to the warehouse. Look at the word mark that appears above. Li Yan was stunned for a moment. Antibody drugs? Hiss. Does the body evolve? Open the warehouse, and a potion full of green slime is displayed inside. This thing. But the real thing only exists in novels. Li Yan exhaled, trying his best to make himself less excited. The previous talent rewards can be regarded as normal people, but this thing is completely different, a real supernatural power. Take out the pot of medicine. Li Yan hesitated for a moment and swallowed it. A strange change began to take place. Hey! Accompanied by a trembling of the body. Everything started to get boring. After taking the antibody drug, Li Yan can clearly feel that his physical qualities have undergone extremely high changes. He took out a small pocket knife and slashed his skin. The scratched skin quickly scabbed and recovered after a few seconds, which was not like the self-healing power that humans could have. And it's just at the stage of taking digestion. According to the previous remarks, it can be seen that this thing can still continue to evolve. After a rough study, Li Yan recalled the comments after the simulation was completed, and fell back into contemplation. Barely escaped, nothing extraordinary. Now that he has antibody serum in his body, his combat effectiveness has been greatly enhanced. Even those who are specially infected are not afraid at all. Escape games, the last requirement is of course to survive the game, but can you use the functions of the simulator to explore and understand some other unknown things? After some thought, Li Yan walked out of the toilet. Instructor Lin looked at the young man who had just come out of the toilet, and frowned again. How? Do you feel your muscles are much firmer? Is it my hallucination? She said, have you finished using the toilet? Continue training, I just gave you some very practical skills. In fact, sometimes skills are more important than strength. Look at this steak. Instructor Lin took a deep breath, picked up the axe, and planned to recover all his lost face at this time. Drink! Snorted. Wei Wei squatted down, raised the axe, and used strength in both arms, slashing the axe on the stake, and then immediately pulled the horse back to chop, spending about 4 or 5 axes, and chopped off the thick tree stump in front of him. Seeing the other party's stunned look, a smile appeared on Instructor Lin's cheek. Come on, try it. I saw her handing over the axe. Li Yan nodded dumbly, and for a moment, the whole person instantly calmed down. Holding the fire axe, his muscles swelled up instantly. An axe. He cut off the whole piece of wood directly. Lin Xia. This piece of wood may have been left for a long time, and it has been hollowed out by termites. Try this one. Li Yan nodded, followed by another axe. Crack. Cut in two. Lin Xia. After seeing another thick wooden stake cut off, she fell into deep thought again. Li Yan looked at her silent appearance and asked, Instructor Lin, I still want to learn. Stop. Don't call me an instructor. I should call you an instructor. Lin Xia exhaled, Instructor Li, I have nothing to teach you, and the fee is fine. When we make friends, if there is nothing else, I will go to entertain the guests first. By the way, one more thing, which toilet did you go to just now? Li Yan. 1 p.m. After lunch. Li Yan returned home. After the previous operation in the Double Eagle target basement, he also has a new stage of cognition of his own strength. There are still 11 hours before the game starts. The simulation begins again. At 12 o'clock at night, you were pulled into the dungeon. When your teammates are still in the stupefied stage, you rush out of the room and look at the infected person in the corner who has been brutally killed by you. After thinking for a while, you put down the crowbar and knocked it down with a punch. Achieve achievements. Do one good deed every day. This time, you didn't care about those teammates, and came to the security room alone, holding a pistol and a fire axe, and found the blueprint of the research base. The research base is divided into 5 floors, and the germs are leaked in the experimental field on the top floor. In other words, there are more and stronger zombies on it. You didn't feel afraid because of this, and even felt a little eager to try. You picked up the fire axe and smashed all the infected people on the road to the ground. At the corner of the corridor leading to the 4th floor, a sense of crisis suddenly came in. You immediately lowered your body, and a special monkey-like infected person rushed over from above. Although the treatment method is very fast, in the process, you are still attacked, and under the action of the serum, you are not infected. You arrived at the 4th floor, the protective glass on this floor was broken, and the experimental subjects were wandering around. You don't panic at all, take the fire axe and hack all the single experimental subjects to death, then directly take out the grenade obtained from the security room and throw it towards the center. Bounce. Achievement: Zombie Killer. For some reason, when the blood of these infected bodies comes into contact with your body, the serum factor in your body will feel an inexplicable excitement, especially in the face of special experimenters. In this way, you killed all the experimental subjects on the 4th floor, and found a variety of experimental supplies in the laboratory. Obtaining items: incomplete genetic medicine, obtaining item alarm, obtained item safe, obtaining items experimental documents. By viewing the document, as a researcher on the fringe of the research, you have come to understand that the so-called anti-cancer drug research is an excuse. The human body restricts things, which leads to the leak of germs that Kanshu www.uuganshu.com did not study successfully. After collecting the information, you continue to move towards the 5th floor, but when you arrive at the gate, you find that the gate has been blocked and cannot be entered. After thinking for a while, you slowly climbed from the ventilation duct to the 5th floor, which is filled with a large number of experimental subjects and special experimental subjects. You set the alarm clock and put it aside, while holding your breath and walking towards the secluded environment. The sound of the alarm clock quickly attracted these experimental subjects. The door of the laboratory is open, and you come inside, only to find that the box containing the germs has been taken away. Here, are there other living people? On the way of thinking, a deep roar came into your ears. This sound came from the experimental door on the left. The eyes pass through the transparent glass. A Hulk-like ultimate infected person is beating the glass like crazy at this time. His suit and leather shoes are pierced by terrifying muscles, although the other party has become inhuman, but you still recognize who this guy is. Drip, drip. At the same time, a terrifying throbbing sensation came. You feel the danger and plan to leave, but in the next second, bounce. You were blown to pieces. Li Yan died. Survival time: 2 hours. Cause of death: killed by a bomb. Note: the items picked up in the simulation cannot enter the warehouse. Talent reward: absorb drain. After killing a special infected person, you can extract the germs from their bodies to make yourself stronger. Watching his own death, Li Yan was stunned for a moment. Killed by a bomb? Hiss! The strength immediately jumped up. Recalling the content of the simulation, Li Yan once again fell into contemplation. In the 5th floor, except for a very few security personnel, there are only 2 people who can freely enter the laboratory. The scientist known as Weird is also the initiator and person in charge of this research project. The other is a rich man who provides a series of external conditions such as monetary resources for Weirdo's dick and Just now locked in the laboratory, a zombie like the Hulk. It's Dick. Although this guy was locked in the laboratory, the sense of oppression he revealed was far more terrifying than those who were specially infected. But then again, how could he be locked in the laboratory? Moreover, that bomb was obviously specially prepared for it. And the weird scientist, and no trace of him. There are still a lot of things that have not been sorted out. Li Yan exhaled and entered the simulation again. At 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, you were pulled into the death game. After entering the game, you solved the hidden infected person hiding in the corner and walked to the security room alone. You quickly cleaned up the zombies inside, and found that, when you touch them with your fingers, the germs in the other's body will automatically absorb into your body, and your strength and physique are getting stronger. Get your equipment. You came to the 4th floor and chopped down all the way. While spending a certain amount of physical strength, your physical fitness was also increasing at a terrifying speed, skillfully walked from the ventilation duct to the 5th floor. Listening to the vague angry roar, this time, you chose to stay put. Time flows slowly, after a while. Dick shattered the glass of the laboratory and rushed out of it, and at this time, the placed explosive was detonated, and his body was exploded in an instant. Green slime it splashed around, and despite being hit by such a terrifying explosion, it didn't even die, but fell to the ground, repairing its injuries at a slow speed. Da-da! Footsteps sounded at this time. You looked at it intently, only to see that the eccentric scientist came out of a back door at this time, watching Dick's miserable state, and there was laughter in his mouth. The strange thing is that although he made a move, the surrounding experimental subjects still turned a blind eye to him. As expected of the result that I spent nearly 3 years researching, just a broken genetic medicine can make you suffer from the explosion of dynamite without dying. Want to steal my experimental results? Do you really think I don't know what you're thinking? The weird scientist sneered at the dying Dick, as if he was planning to do something, and at this time, boom! Accompanied by the sound of the gun, it was a bullet that hit the opponent's head accurately and without error. His body fell down, and other infected bodies rushed over because of the sound. You set the alarm clock and threw it aside to attract firepower. At the same time, an axe fell on Dick's head and absorbed the opponent's body. Of pathogens. You have become stronger. You start searching for the body of the weird scientist. Obtaining an item, the key to the safe. Obtaining items, experiment log. Obtained item, mysterious church crest. You use the key to open the safe, and you find that there is a part of the broken germs inside. What about the other part? After a search, you did not find any traces of the germs on the weird scientist. Seeing that the poison gas was about to be released, you hurriedly headed towards the basement. In the process, you saw the corpses of your teammates, and finally, you entered the safe house and survived. And after you left for a long time, the poison gas leaked out, and the weird scientist who had been shot through his head stood up strangely. Successful simulation. Congratulations on your successful survival. Rating A evaluation. Your performance is excellent. The only fly in the ointment is that all your teammates have died. Get rewards 10 simulated coins. Note: simulated currency is a very important item in this system. You can use it to freely buy various things in the system mall, and you can also buy talents. Hi! Simulated coins? Looking at the above introduction, Li Yan was stunned for a moment, and then he opened the system mall interface that was just opened. There are all kinds of talents in a dazzling array, such as parkour specialization, fighting specialization. The price is about 3 simulation coins. The more you look up, there are even skydifying talents that can be called superpowers. To buy, but the price is also very expensive. I didn't rush to spend the simulated coins in my hand. Li Yan recalled the simulation experience this time, and his expression was a little dignified. The pathogen was not found. Moreover, he shot the guy and collapsed, but the other party stood up again. But then again, this time, I have harvested a lot of items in the dungeon. Although it didn't appear in the warehouse, at least I learned some inside stories. The mysterious church coat of arms, some dangerous villain organization? Also, some of the germs in the safe. This thing. But something is remarkable. The culprit that caused the zombies, if Li Yan walked around with that thing after escaping. The content of the copy, I am afraid it will be staged in reality. While feeling scared, Li Yan also had some heart palpitations. The first copy. Such a dangerous thing has already happened. Then when the game progresses to the back, there are more and more players, and it is inevitable that there will be some aliens with other thoughts. If a big thing comes out, it is not impossible to cause the extinction of mankind. The time has come to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There is still some time before the game officially starts. This time, his copy survived successfully, and the evaluation reached A, but obviously, there should be a higher level above, the higher the evaluation obtained, the more rewards. With such a long time, Li Yan will naturally not let it go. It's been a few weeks. To complain, he exhaled and started the simulation again. Time goes on. The fierce sun outside the window gradually turned into a setting sun, and finally, twilight came. During these hours, Li Yan tried a dozen simulations. During this period, he has already made all kinds of attempts, but no matter what, the weird scientist will stand up again at the last moment. This guy can't be killed at all, at least in this instance. Plus the copy of Zombie Crisis suggested by the germ plasm. Li Yan guessed that he might be able to meet this scientist again in the copy in the future. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com during the simulation process. He also tried to save all his teammates and go to the safe house, but, the most rated ones, they also reached the A end level. Moreover, as the number of customs clearances increased, the rewards obtained became less and less. Looked at the time. It's already 10 o'clock at night. For the rest of the time, Li Yan was too lazy to continue to instill his energy into the simulation. Simulation is one thing, but when he does it himself, it is another. Eating, drinking tea, watching videos, and running 2 laps in the community to make my body feel a little hot. With his current physical fitness, he can already be regarded as a superhuman. During the simulation process, he absorbed a lot of germs from zombies, and he might not be able to do things like pulling the weeping willows upside down. Questionable. After a warm-up, time passed slowly to 11 o'clock. Li Yan sat in his room and concentrated, until, a prompt sounded in his ear. The game of death has been loaded. Congratulations, you have been selected as an internal beta player. Synthetic electronic sounds appeared in his ears. An illusory screen flickered before his eyes. Please enter your player ID. The classic naming session. Li Yan was stunned for a moment, and after a moment of contemplation, he entered a string of names. Super Tyrannosaurus Warrior System. Please confirm whether to use this ID. Sure. The ID takes effect, and then it is automatically matched to enter the copy. The copy matched successfully. The name is Crazy Lab. Number of participants, 4. Introduction to the copy. You are a researcher in charge of researching anti-cancer drugs, and you are responsible for working on the 3rd floor of the laboratory. When you finished solving the problem and went out, you found that the pathogenic bacteria on the 5th floor had leaked. Security, and some researchers have been infected and become zombies. You must escape before the monsters are released. Disappeared in front of him with the introduction. My brain was dizzy for a while, my vision was out of focus, and it gradually solidified. A smell of chemical gas rushed into the nose, making people feel uncomfortable. Open your eyes. The first thing that catches the eye is this pure white research room, looking out through the glass door. The security personnel in the base, and the vast majority of researchers, have now become infected with germs of zombies. Through the previous simulation, Li Yan already has some basic strength research on these guys. Infected zombies infected with germs have the largest number and the weakest combat power. Experiments human beings used for germ research and development are locked in the laboratory, with small numbers and strong combat effectiveness. The weakness is that they can only identify the location by listening. Special experiments distorted during the experiment, encountered many times in the simulation, the number is very small, but each occurrence can cause a lot of confusion. This is Li Yan's position on the strength of these zombies in the research room. After thinking about this, his eyes turned to the side. In this research room, there are 3 other people standing at this time. 1 man and 2 women. The man looks to be of a certain age, in his 40s, with slightly white temples. Unlike ordinary middle-aged men, he is not fat. On the contrary, under the background of his tall figure, there is a faint strong appearance. Feel. The ID is Li Qiaovu. Although the name has gained a righteousness, but, the more it is like the boss of the Hong Kong film underworld. Look to the side. It is a girl with a somewhat heroic appearance. Shen Lian, that is, the girl from the police academy, who was mentioned many times in the simulation, performed so well. The last girl left. The ID's name is Ning Qing. After seeing the other party's appearance, Li Yan was stunned for a moment. Hiss! Isn't this the girl in the club who taught him to target? He seemed to sense some kind of gaze. Ning Qing turned her head away, and happened to see Li Yan. Although the one-sided relationship is nothing, but in this situation, there is a person who has seen it, and it is a little more at ease. What's more, the other party is a master with superb marksmanship. Escape game. We seem to be involved in some kind of supernatural force. After some immersion, Shen Lian spoke first. She moved to the side and asked, "Did you hear a series of electronic sounds like an internal test this morning?" Ning Qing nodded. "I thought it was a hallucination. I didn't care much." While talking, a blood-red countdown appeared in sight. Countdown, 2 hours and 59 minutes. A huge bright red screen flickered in sight. It means that they don't have much time, and if they stay still, they will die. Li Qiaovu reacted immediately, "We have to leave quickly." He looked at a few people on the field. Except for the handsome young man, he didn't seem to be very reliable. After hesitating for a few seconds, Li Qiaovu went on to say, "I'm a black boxer, and I've been a bodyguard for a few years. Although this has never happened before, I have learned about emergency situations. You can follow my instructions." At this juncture, having a trustworthy person as a conductor is crucial, especially when teamwork is required. If it wasn't for Li Yan's simulator, maybe he really believed what the old man said with a straight face. If the bodyguard is not a bodyguard, let's not talk about it first. The performance of this old guy in the simulator is really indescribable. Li Yan glanced at him. According to the copy, there should be a large number of infected zombies outside. If you want to go out, it is impossible for them to fight. I think we should collect some self-defense weapons first. It is most appropriate to go to the security room. Li Qiaovu frowned, as if he wanted to talk again, but he saw the young man turned away after saying this, picked up the crowbar on the ground, and kicked the door open without saying a word. The sound of crowbar waving resounded in the air. The infected person hiding in the corner was thrown to the ground by a stick, and the green blood splashed in a smooth arc. The smooth and silky operation made everyone present stunned. After killing the zombies, Li Yan's pupils did not show any changes, as if he had done a trivial thing. "Time is running out, what are you still doing?" 4 zombies. In the initial simulation process, he may need to be very careful, even if he has enough ability to kill these guys, but the real difficulty of this copy is that once the attack of these zombies comes into contact with blood, the bacteria in their bodies can infect people quickly. But after the antibody serum, this is no longer a problem. In the subsequent simulation process, in order to reach this level simulation evaluation, he even slaughtered all the surrounding zombies once. Although Tranquility often practiced target practice in the Double Eagle Club, but this experience did not make her have any other changes, she just followed behind timidly. Shen Lian received professional training in the police academy, so her performance was much better. Her eyes were always on Li Yan. Although it looks unpredictable. But in fact, the lake in my heart has already set off a storm. No other reason. The performance of the other party is really too superior and skilled. The skilled person seems to have been beaten 1,000 times. Facing zombies is the same as ordinary people facing mice and cockroaches, and they are killed casually, without the slightest interest. The slightly bulging muscles when waving the cane, the sophistication feeling of raising my hand to wipe when blood splashes on the cheek, the unwavering eyes, just like the respected seniors in the police academy, make him people are convinced. Full of the beauty of violent aesthetics. Why are you still standing still? The security room is here, pay more attention. The other party's voice came. Shen Lian immediately came back to her senses, looked at the other party's slightly puzzled eyes, and pursed her lips, okay. I originally thought that the journey to the security room would be very difficult. In fact, if this guy is not there, the journey will indeed become very difficult, not to mention the zombies in the dark, even if it is on the surface, it is very difficult to deal with. But along the way, the zombies on the bright side and the dark side couldn't last a single turn under the crowbar, and fell to the ground, blood splashing everywhere, full of the beauty of violent aesthetics. Hey! To the security room. The difficulty is about to rise a little bit. Most of the infected security personnel here are wearing equipment. Thinking. A certain tick sound came out. It was the sound of saliva dripping. Li Yan was very familiar with this voice. In the second simulation, when I was in the security room, I heard a similar sound. At that time, it seemed that he was directly surrounded and beaten because of his poor marksmanship, which attracted the attention of those monsters. This guy is a special infected person. In response, Li Yan looked at the ceiling of the corridor, and at some point, a special experimenter like a skinny monkey had clinged to it, and there was still mucus hanging from his sharp fangs. Its scarlet eyes stared at Li Qiaovu, who was ignorant of danger. That huge body seems to be a rare delicacy. In the next second, its limbs tensed up, its muscles bulged, as if it were inflated, and it swooped over at this critical moment. Li Qiaovu raised his brows and seemed to sense the danger coming. He turned around suddenly, raised his foot to aim at the dark shadow, and kicked it. The huge force caused the special experimenter to be kicked directly to the wall next to him. Lao Ji, are you playing yin? He cursed and took the wooden stick in Tranquility's hand. Without further ado, the special experimental body that was breathing against the wall turned into a stick. Click! The huge force caused the stick to split directly, and half of the experimental subject's head was tilted over. The attack was decisive and ruthless. After solving this little episode, several people came to the security room. I have to say that I have been a mercenary for a few years, and I really have a certain way of fighting hand to hand. There are no moves to start, but if you get hit, it will be a deadly hand. A few zombies in the room will be solved in a short time. Looking at the arrangement of various firearms and supplies, Shen Lian, who had been paddling silently behind, let out a breath. As a trainee police officer, during this process, she didn't help anything. The uncle who has been punching for a few years doesn't matter. But why is the fighting ability displayed by this young boy who looks about the same age as him so terrifying? Whether it is an infected person or an experimental body, it seems that in the eyes of the other party, it can't make any waves. Fine. Although I didn't perform mediocrely before, I may not be very good at hand-to-hand combat, but now, with firearms, the situation will definitely be different. After all, I have received so much professional training in the police academy. After all, it is a base for important research. The various weapons and props in the security room are enough to be called a dazzling array. Rifles, Model 95 pistols, fire axes, body armor, tear gas, explosion-proof shields. Li Yan picked up a pistol from the ground and also picked up a fire axe. Li Qiaovu looked at the delicate firearms and pouted, "I'm not used to these things," said, picked up the explosion-proof shield and crowbar, and put on various protective equipment. Shen Lian took the rifle and Tranquility, just picked up some random things. No way. After entering the security room, she originally thought that she could finally get rid of the identity of the team's fuel bottle. But after looking at other people's configurations, Tranquility still silently accepted his incompetence. Never mind. It's good to be a vase. It's better than no vase at all. Shen Lian turned her head, what should I do next? Li Yan did not speak, but continued to rummage through the security room, and then took out a drawing. This is the structural drawing of the research base. Now, the germs have leaked, and the gate of the base has turned on the self-destruct mode. If you want to go out from there, you are courting death. You can go to the basement through the pipeline. There is a safe room. The words did not fall. Crack. The sound of something being broken came through. Crisp. It was like glass fell to the ground. This is laboratory glass. With thoughts falling, groups of experimental subjects sprang out from inside. Li Yan frowned. He was about to remind him not to make a sound, but in the next second, Tranquility has pulled his trigger. Li Yan. I thought this guy's performance would be stronger than in the simulation, but it seems that I think too much. Bullets blazed out, and I don't know if it took away the lives of the zombies. But it came with the sound of gunfire. There are also groups of disturbed experimenters and infected people flocking here. Like the uncles and aunts who were waiting early for the special discounts in the vegetable market, it made people feel goosebumps all over their body. Sigh. In this case, a fire axe is useless, and a gun is still needed. He was taking out his pistol. Shen Lian had already started shooting at the zombies with an extremely upright posture. The bullets poured out, the flames flickered, and the flesh splattered. There was no panic in her expression. His marksmanship, in the school, belongs to the superior type. Maybe Shen Lian is not very good at hand-to-hand combat, but in such a situation, he can play a very big role. But firearms also have limitations. The exhaustion of bullets makes the ferocious firepower jam instantly. These few seconds don't seem to be too long, but for zombies, it is the best attack. Chance, in the blink of an eye, 3 infected people rushed in and rushed towards Shen Lian. Bang bang bang. 3 bullets. The heads of the 3 infected people were precisely hit. Shen Lian looked in the direction of the bullet, but saw that handsome young man, at this time, was holding a pistol and shooting at the zombies that rushed in. 12 bullets knocked down 11 zombies. She still had a calm expression, which made Shen Lian a little sluggish. This guy, even if he is ruthless and experienced in hand-to-hand combat, how can the exquisiteness of his marksmanship be smoother and smoother than the use of cold weapons? She doesn't look too old. 21 or 2 years old, about the same as me. How come the others are so different? Incomprehensible. At the same time, Li Qiaovu held a fire axe in one hand and a crowbar in the other. At this time, he seemed to be a Spartan warrior, blocking another door, watching the swarming zombies, constantly smashing them with a crowbar. When labor and management had a fight, there were more people beaten than this. Zombies are nothing. Although there is not too much running in. But the cooperation of several people is not bad. The self-confidence that was originally intended to be regained was once again a small setback. Shen Lian quickly filled the bullets and cleaned up the surging infected people. Li Qiaovu is the forward. Shen Lian is very strange. Li Yan made up for the knife. Tranquility clapped his hands and called him awesome. At this time, the cooperation of several people is still quite good. Some people act as the front row to attract most of the firepower, and there are also firepower output and supplementary swords in the back. Some people even applauded to be the atmosphere group. Bullets poured out of the barrel, turning the black into a fiery red. An infected person who only heard the sound fell to the ground in the continuously pouring bullets. Even if there were a few who could still flutter, they would be killed by the quick-sighted Li Yan with a fire axe. About a stick of incense. This sudden change was solved in this way. Although the feeling of being in front of the zombies is very refreshing, it is no wonder that the cost of this time is not small. Almost all the bullets are gone. With the fire axe sliding in the air, there is a cracking sound. The last infected person was also headed by Li Yan. Looking at the ground, the white tiles that were originally pure and flawless are now full of green blood that has been distorted by zombies. The stench quickly filled the air. The originally calm group of 4, after going through this turmoil, everyone was out of breath, thankful that they were able to survive this disaster. Even Li Qiaovu, who often walks on the boundary of life and death, couldn't help but be in a trance after seeing the zombie corpses on the ground. Zombies in a research base? No. The infected people on the 3rd floor almost wiped out their entire army. To go to the research base at the bottom, at least you need to pass through the research base on the 2nd floor, and then you can reach the gate of the base. Now you have almost used the bullets. After cleaning up these mobs, Li Yan turned his eyes to Ningjing, who had been paddling in the water and fishing for fish. Have you seen the zombies locked in the laboratory? Those are the first humans to be used for germ experiments. Whether they are attack power or survival rate, they are much stronger than zombies that are usually infected by germs, but they have a fatal flaw: invisible. But at the same time, in order to make up for their shortcomings, their senses of hearing and smell are also very keen, so don't make the same movements as before, once you disturb these guys. In the current situation of lack of ammunition, your life safety is an unknown. Li Yan opened his mouth to remind. Hear this. Ningjing nodded, and immediately covered his mouth. As a vase. She is still a little self-aware, not to mention adding help to the team, but at least, don't hold back. While speaking, he also set his eyes on Shen Lian, who was panting heavily. This guy can only be said to be worthy of being specially trained in the police academy. This kind of quality in the face of danger. No wonder it was mentioned many times in the simulation. At this time, Li Qiaovu, who had been silent all the time, said, "The zombies here have been cleaned up, and they are still here? The countdown is almost over." As an underground boxing champion who has worked as a bodyguard and is well known in the underground, he is nearly 40 years old, and he has experienced more things in his life than the average person. However, when faced with such a situation, he looked at the hideous faces of the hordes of zombies that were attacking him madly. There is still some fear that inevitably breeds inside. As the old saying goes, the older a person is, the more afraid of death. Although Li Qiaovu can live to this day, it is already a blessing from God, but, when death really comes, the suffocating oppression still makes this knife tip lick blood. The long-time veteran felt a little breathless. He just wants to get out of this place now, even if this supernatural power may bring him more benefits than the previous 40 years combined. But then again, Rao is himself. In this situation, I felt extremely flustered, but the young man with the ID name Super Tyrannosaurus Warrior picked up a name that was so out of tune. The performance was exceptional. The marksmanship is superb, and the feeling of exerting force when using the weapon, the fluency, is also extremely sophisticated. This kind of firefighting axe slashing, blood splashing on the body, such a horrible end scene, the psychological endurance is not enough, it is absolutely impossible to do this, but this guy, calmness is a bit too much, as if he has experienced the above hundreds of times the same, even, humming a little song when killing monsters? If you kill a zombie, Can you still kill the emotion? Listening to what the underground boxer said, Li Yan searched for the blueprints and said, the way to the base gate can't work, the self-destruction procedure has already begun. Li Qiaovu was stunned for a moment. How do you know? Li Yan glanced at him. If you don't believe it, you can try it. At that time, you may encounter dozens of zombies surrounded by dozens of zombies, the explosion-proof shield is scratched, and the palm is dislocated, but you can't get out of the predicament, and then they will pile up on you like a hill, use claws scratching your flesh, gnawing at your tenderest parts with teeth, and giggling wryly. Of course, these are all my assumptions. It's also possible. If you are lucky, you just rushed out. He shrugged and motioned for the other party to take care of himself. Li Qiaovu. This kid. Why are you so cheap? After hesitating for a long time, he finally exhaled and stayed in the security room. And on the other side, Li Yan has found the blueprint of the research base in the security room. He spread it out and placed it on the ground. This is the blueprint of the research base. Under the first floor, there is a basement, where there is a specially made safe house to prevent unexpected situations. Resources. The scarlet countdown flashed on the top of the screen, the numbers getting smaller and smaller, leaving them with only 2 hours left. Then follow this route. Time is running out. I just want to get out of this ghost place as soon as possible. Li Qiaovu said. Although the opponent's state is a little out of tune, it is undoubtedly the best in terms of performance and strength. Li Yan nodded, and handed the blueprint of the base to Shen Lian next to him. Since everything has been planned, there is no need to delay any further. Let's go in through the windbreak pipe first. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Shen Lian was stunned for a moment. What about you? Li Yan shifted his gaze. Previously, in the laboratory, there was a little girl. She is a special experimental subject, I'll take care of her later. After speaking, a few people didn't hesitate, and quickly entered the ventilation duct. Staring at the corpses all over the floor, a very mysterious feeling of throbbing came out from the depths of my heart. It's a pity that the zombies that were killed with so much effort were finally abolished and left here in vain. When Li Yan went to the 4th and 5th floors for the first time, although he died, he acquired a very powerful talent. Absorb. It can absorb part of the pathogenic bacteria in the dead body into the body, so as to evolve and become stronger. While acquiring this skill, he also learned some information. The talent of the simulator can be changed according to the special characteristics of the host itself. Before acquiring this talent, Li Yan's previous simulation rewards belonged to human beings. Whether it was a firearms specialist or a breath-holding expert, none of them were beyond the limits of the human body. But the absorption is different. It is completely a talent matched by the antibody serum in the body, non-human. Exhale. Li Yan squatted down, his fingertips touched the sticky blood on the ground, and some kind of wonderful connection began to be established. Along with the numbness, something was pouring into his body through the contact of his skin. It's picking up pathogenic bacteria. The extraction of the pathogenic bacteria is complete. Your has changed. Get active skill 1 Finger of God. Skill name Hand of God. Consume 10% of the overall mental strength and 10% of the physical strength. Description: when you use this skill, your will become the conductor of germs, and will spread the robe toward the air. The body skills of the person or object infected by germs will drop rapidly and become the carrier of germs. Note: this skill is invalid for zombies. Hi. Looking at the information prompt that suddenly appeared, Li Yan was stunned for a moment. Skill? Calm down and feel. He could clearly feel that there was some kind of extremely subtle substance in his body, and he could control it. This should be the absorbed pathogenic bacteria. Is this what we call evolution? Li Yan was stunned for a moment. His eyes began to stare at the description of the skill, and after reading it carefully, he couldn't help but nodded. Judging from the description above, This skill is quite good. Although it is useless for zombies, except for this accident, it is basically impossible for the escape dungeon to be a zombie again in the future. Weekend. Applying a weakness buff than the middle finger? He put his raised away. Although he had absorbed the zombies on the ground, Li Yan did not rush into the ventilation duct. Absorbing corpses is one thing. But it's not the right thing to do. The reason why Li Yan stayed in this place was another very important thing. That is the items on the 4th or 5th floors of the research base. Although, if he went to the safe house with his teammates now, he would be able to successfully pass this level without any accident, but according to the items displayed in the simulator, the temptation was too great. Mysterious church coat of arms, part of the germplasm, research materials. These things are the real valuable items in this dungeon. Others are not worth mentioning at all. Although the difficulty has increased a lot, it is not a loss in terms of the value brought by those items. Looking at the time, it's only been over an hour or so, and the remaining time should be enough to go to the 4th or 5th floor of the ground to pick up those things. With this thought in mind, Li Yan walked out of the safe house with a fire axe. In the stairs leading from the 3rd floor to the 4th floor, there are still some zombies that have not been completely killed. Looking at the twisted appearance of these guys, Li Yan didn't frown. The thin figure shuttled among the zombies, and every drop of an axe would bring a large splash of blood. An adrenaline rush. The roar of zombies. It sounds so frightening, but it also reveals a strong sense of helplessness. I thought it would take me a very long time to adapt to this rhythm, but I didn't expect to adapt so quickly. Another axe fell. In just a moment, the infected people in the entire corridor have been cleaned up. Come to the stairs. Accompanied by some kind of sharp friction. A special experiment with extremely long fingernails suddenly jumped out of the dark corner at this time. The attack of the special infected has been carried out a dozen times in the simulation, and Li Yan can dodge it with his eyes closed. A minute on the stage. 10 years of hard work under the stage. This sentence is best explained by the simulator. Although on the surface it looks like the clouds are light and the wind is light, this knife and that shot can easily resolve the battle, but in fact, in order to achieve this level, the number of times Li Yan died is quite terrifying. He flicked sideways, raised his fire axe, and slashed heavily from top to bottom. After killing the opponent, he absorbed the germs. Come to the 4th floor of the research base. As the 1st floor where the germs spread, even the infected people here are several times better than ordinary people in all aspects. Moreover, there are many special experimenters on this floor. Even though his strength has undergone a qualitative change now, in the process of simulation, he often has the experience of overturning. Carefully kill all the infected people around. With his breath-holding ability, Li Yan sneaked back and forth under the eyes of the special experimenters. In this silent atmosphere, he felt as if he had incarnated the protagonist of Assassin's Creed, and the fire axe in his hand had also turned into a dagger, and every drop represented the loss of a life. Time passed, and with the falling of a powerful axe, several weak chicken zombies infected in the laboratory also followed to the end. A search. Items originally seen in the simulator finally appeared at this time. Safe. Alarm clock. Defective genetic medicine. Previously, Dick, who was imprisoned in the laboratory, turned into that terrifying appearance because he took a defective genetic medicine. I wonder if it can be improved. If possible, the value of the potion in the hand is a bit scary. UU reading www.uugonshu.com. Get rid of the cluttered thoughts in your mind. With the fire axe in his hand, he slashed at the ventilation duct above the laboratory's head with a sharp knife. With a clever pry, he opened the piece of iron sheet. Then, he climbed in and moved toward the research base step by step. Go to the 5th floor. The narrow space is pitch dark. The surroundings were extremely quiet, so quiet that you could even hear his heavy breathing. Not right. This gasp is not your own. As this terrifying thought emerged from his mind, Li Yan's heart throbbed unimaginably, and he immediately put the fire axe on his chest. Boom! With a loud noise. The iron sheet, which was originally very flat, seemed to have been hit by some kind of extremely strong impact, and it was directly dented. The throat is sweet. Under the strong impact, the whole body bowed, the handle of the fire axe in his hand was directly smashed, and even the axe had some dents. The body broke through the weak iron sheet and fell heavily on the wall, blood spilled from the corners of the mouth, and the vibrating internal organs brought extremely strong discomfort, but soon, the inhuman healing power brought by the serum quickly adjusted the body. In sight, a huge green palm came out, like crushing a paper toy, and smashed the ventilation duct directly. This giant zombie with a height of several people is exactly Dick, who was locked in the laboratory. However, it was angry and irritable in the simulation, but at this time it became extremely calm, and it was on Dick's shoulder. Superior. The weird scientist stared at Li Yan, who was gasping for breath after being punched in the corner, with a smile. Hello, an outsider. Weird scientist, whose real name is Humphrey. According to the data, this guy is a perverted researcher who has been studying weird things. He has a brain deformity and a very high IQ. In a chance, he came into contact with the famous rich man Dick, and presented their findings to each other. Dick admired this researcher with a deformed head, and invested in the establishment of a research laboratory to study so-called anti-cancer drugs. In fact, it was a zombie virus that could bring the whole world to the end of the world. In his mind, he recalled the information he had learned in the simulation. Li Yan slowly stood up from the sunken wall and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. In sight, the Hulk-like rich man who was devastated by genetic medicine was as docile as a tamed wild horse at this time. Humphrey sat on his shoulders, and his body was filled with a special aura. Hello, outsider! A slightly trembling voice came out, as if he had seen some kind of extremely rare experimental specimen, and there was some strange excitement in his voice. How could it become like this? Looking at the sudden change, Li Yan's brows furrowed. In the simulation, there has never been a situation similar to the present. The eyes of both sides are opposite. The experimental subjects on the 5th floor of the research base were also attracted by this huge movement and rushed in groups. Unexpectedly, this time, when they clearly sensed the smell in the air, they suppressed their bloodthirsty nature and stayed beside the giant zombies, as if they were shocked by some extremely powerful sense of oppression. Living. Humphrey stared at Li Yan with interest. Lu Yuan, one of the research members of the 3rd floor research laboratory, 34 years old, joined this research in March of the previous year. The bacterial infection index in the body is quite high. It is reasonable to say, when I cause this catastrophe, you should be like the rest of the experimenters, turned into a walking dead. But the development of things exceeded my expectations. Not only did you not become a zombie, but you even slaughtered my dear people in turn. This is not the Lu Yuan I am familiar with. Who are you? Listening to this slightly excited question, Li Yan's expression remained unchanged. He stared at the group of zombies beside the giant zombies, and then looked at Humphrey's face that was extremely distorted from excitement. These dungeon NPCs are far smarter than he imagined. It's no wonder that you can come up with such a perverted thing, but your brain is still very useful. But since that's what you asked, there is no need for Li Yan to hide. He looked at his name ID and said with a straight face, Super Tyrannosaurus Warrior. Humphrey. Giant zombies. After hearing the name of this man who was fooled by a fool, the smile on Humphrey's cheeks became even brighter. Outlander, looking forward to your performance. With the words landing, something seemed to be opened, and the group of zombies who were still stunned in place, became manic as if they had been stimulant. Their eyes became scarlet like a special experimental body, and their mouths were tearing as sharp whimper rushed towards the target. On the 3rd floor, a similar situation happened. A group of zombies rushed up, but last time, there were 3 people to support, and this time, Only Li Yan was left. While there is still some time left, he picked up the half of the fire axe with the broken handle on the ground, tore off his sleeve, and wrapped it tightly around his palm. The battle officially begins. The rubber shoes made a loud rubbing sound on the ground. The fire axe tightly wrapped in his hand suddenly turned upwards, the back of the axe knocked on the jaw of the frontmost zombie, and it dented directly, and the huge force directly lifted it a few meters away. In the next second, the blade turned sharply downward. Although the blade of the axe was almost worn out, the heavy weight, no matter how worn it was, could still cause huge lethality under the blessing of strength. This is also the reason for choosing the fire axe. With one slash, green mucus splashed out, instantly killing 2 zombies, but Li Yan's movements did not stop at all. With the ability to sense danger, he lowered his body to avoid the attack, and after stabilizing, he kicked his right foot forward. He swayed a piece of zombies, and taking advantage of this opportunity, he slammed his left elbow behind him, and at the same time swung his axe to make a heavy blow. The talent of the fire axe specialization has been brought to the extreme at this time. When this thing is sharp, it can cut zombies into melons and vegetables, and when it is dull, it can directly kill the opponent. The smooth and silky operation, coupled with the splash of meat and blood in the sky, fully demonstrates the aesthetics of violence, which makes the adrenaline rush. On the other side, Humphrey was sitting on the shoulders of the giant zombie at this time, and the mysterious coat of arms in the left pocket of the white coat glowed dimly, looking extremely strange. Immune to the infection of germs. Anti-gravity, attack power, and self-healing power are not like what humans can have. Interesting. If you use it as an experimental body, you might be able to breed zombies that are stronger than this idiot. Looking at the giant zombie with a huge body sitting down, Humphrey stared at Li Yan, who was wielding a fire axe among the zombies, and his eyes gradually became hot. Such a solid body! It can withstand the waste of various experiments, and it will be a little difficult to meet again. His chest rose and fell, and the pea-sized beads of sweat flowed down the edge of his forehead and penetrated into the wound, bringing a tingling awakening to the nerves. Another axe fell. There are already more than 10 corpses piled up on the ground. Reading www.yuyugonshu.com. I can't tell if the blood on my body is my own or that of a zombie. There was even a trance in his sight. Unexpectedly, after so many simulations, some unexpected situations appeared. Breathing heavily. The zombie in front of him has become more and more blurred, like a highly myopic patient taking off his glasses. The zombie in front of him has become only a shadow, and he can only rely on the ability to perceive danger to constantly dodge an attack. But aside from the zombies in front of you, there is also a real big boss standing there. The situation is not optimistic. My vision is getting blurry. Looking at the swarming zombies, Li Yan looked at the potions in his inventory, and his heart sank. It's all like this. If you don't fight a little, you'll be gone. After thinking about it, Li Yan felt his body getting weaker and weaker. Without hesitation, Li Yan directly stabbed the incomplete genetic medicine into his chest. Liquid injection. The surging power accompanied by manic desire instantly swept away his sanity. The originally damaged wound was instantly repaired, and the muscles began to swell, as if they were going to swell uncontrollably. But at this time, the antibody serum hidden in the blood suddenly became cooler, directly cooling down the manic thoughts that were going to break the human brain, and the sight gradually became clear from hazy. You used a genetically defective drug on yourself. Your brain is about to be occupied. The antibody serum in your body has an effect. You have entered a state of frenzy.